Welcome to my podcast story, the show where podcasters share the real journey behind their voices, from their first mic check to their biggest milestones. Every episode reveals the lessons, challenges, and breakthrough that shape a podcast star's journey. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I can't wait for you to hear today's story. Tell us your name and what you do.
Right. I'm Audrey Wiggins. I'm known as Tech Diva, and I'm a podcaster and also a marketer. And I've been doing that for quite a long time. So I have fun promoting other people what they do.
Welcome to the podcast, Audrey.
Thank you.
Can you tell us the name of your podcast and what your podcast is about?
Yes, thanks, Wisdom. So my podcast is called Tech Diva Biz Talks, and primarily I interview guests, but I also do solo episodes. So we talk about branding, we talk about technology in business, pricing. So anything that has to do with, with operating our business and getting our products and services out there.
Wow. Why did you start the podcast?
Now, this is a weird story because I actually started it because I was selling these video tools. And it had a web TV.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So there was like 5 tools in there, and one of them was like a web TV show, and they called it the Web Show. And this was in 2010. And so in order to sell the product, you have to be a product of your product. And so I had a speech at one of my Christian business networking groups. So that was recorded. I put that on there. And that was the only thing there for like 6 months, right? And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, this is a real marketing tool. And so I started calling all my entrepreneur friends and say, hey, I've started this web TV thing. I didn't really know that it was a podcast.
Yeah.
And so it was all videos. One begot one, and before you know it, now it's 2025 and I'm still doing it.
Wow. So you telling me you started this podcast in 2010?
Yes, it was called, when I first started, my first show was called Make Something Happen.tv. So basically I would interview business owners, pastors, political figures, community leaders, and any, even an individual who did something, fantastic or something, that would put them on my show. And the show still exists to this day.
Yeah. Wow. That's a long time. 15 years. That's an
Yes.
OG in the game.
Yeah, OG. Okay, Wisdom.
Wow. I bow. What am I saying? Okay, let me learn from. Can you water me with some podcast wisdom? Wow. I'm excited I'm interviewing you. I have a question. We just started. These are the easy ones. We'll get to the difficult ones in a short while. I just gotta like prepare the way. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You do the podcast called Tech Diva, and I'm curious. The podcast has an energy in its name, Tech Diva. Is there a story behind Tech Diva, or was he just like, I just put it together? Why Tech
No,
Diva?
it was, yeah, I've always been like a tech savvy person, so I would call myself tech savvy marketer, but I wanted something that would really stand out. And I like to be fancy a little bit and a little quirky and fun. So I'm like, okay, a diva, because somebody called me a diva one time, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna call this show, but I'm gonna be, my persona, the Tech Diva, and I think that kind of like softens it, so people will want to come in and be a part of that conversation. So, I was on the show the Tech Diva, and so it's it's kind of fun, but it still has a purpose, because we do talk about technology, using technology in our business.
Wow, Tech Diva. It just has a nice ring to the name. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. You've been in the podcast for 15 years now, and I'm curious. Wait. You told me that when you started, it was make shift happen.
Make something happen.tv.
Okay. Make something happen.
Yeah, it's still a real show.
What happened to that? Because it sounds like you moved away from the show.
Yeah, that was kind of an everything goes, hodgepodge show. It was a real like interview show, like a talk show basically. Versus now where Tech Diva Biz Talks, it has a focus. it's strictly like, marketing and anything business related to helping a marketer. But the other show, and it's still there. I did because I've evolved from that, and I had created a web TV network, and so that show resides on the network because when you start putting stuff on the internet, basically it's evergreen, and if it's good content, you want to keep it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's still there, out there, and I do plan to add some more shows to it, more interviews to it.
Okay. Okay. I'm right now you do the podcast, and can you take us the behind the scenes of what the podcast looks like in terms of how you create an episode?
Yeah. All right. So I go through, we're in the same organization, you and I, called Pot Match. So I get my, guests will come on and, we have a initial conversation to see if we're a fit, right? And so once that happens, it begins to be kind of automated from there where people will fill out an application and get the calendar link, so they get on there, so it's automatically scheduled once they pick the date they want to schedule. So I usually record once a month, so I batch record, and like 5 or 6 episodes all in one day, and from there, then the reminder is just like that's like yours. They're automated. They go out to be reminders, so you have less of a chance for people to cancel on you. But sometimes, life happens and people do have to reschedule. So that's understandable. But for the most part, when you batch record, you have shows always in a hopper. You figure there's 4 weeks or whatever, whatever day it comes. If you're weekly, I'm a weekly, so my examples are going to be for a weekly show. And so if I
Oh,
record 4 or 5, 5 or 6 shows, I should say, then I always have one or two going forward. So I always have content. So if somebody cancels, then I always have the extra show to put in there. Plus, I do solo episodes as well. So the show could still go on. And one thing I just learned from a lady I had on, does a podcast production company. This is something I hadn't done. So she talks about doing the batching, which I do, but she also talks about starting to do the editing, not just for the one show for that week, because normally I'll edit every week. Says, as much as possible to batch edit as well, so you have as much work done in advance as possible. But so from there, though, then that's just the background part of the setup. So so that's pretty steady. That's something that I do on the regular. But then making sure, I've got to have my hair cut, the personal things, to make sure the mic is together and have my studio set up, studio like, our virtual studio, making sure the mic is
yeah,
working and the lighting is set up right and things like that. And I'll be ready to go. So I usually log on my own shows probably like 15 minutes before the guest comes in, just to make sure. Times I suggest they do that too in case there's updates, because for the most part I use Zoom for mine, so you don't want to get caught. But the 10-minute update before,
yeah,
for the show. But usually the guest submits the questions, and I do what I call diva-dize them. So I'll throw them into Chat GPT and have them say, okay, Wisdom gave me these 10 questions, diva-dize them. So it's basically the same question, but it comes back in a more of my personality, but it's still the
yeah.
same question. Yeah. So, yeah, so I have that
Oh,
set up. So, yeah. So all of that set up in advance and intro so that I'm ready to go and the guest is ready to go.
yeah. You did not mention the tools or the apps you use. You took us through the workflow, but could you tell us some of the tools so that we might be exposed to some of your secret tools you use?
Sure, sure. Yeah, so one of my tools for the recording is Zoom, and I have had the occasion to use Riverside. I do have a Riverside account. So these are our virtual studios. So we have that.
Okay.
Yeah. And so as far as the software tools, other than the actual hosting, I mean the actual recording, I do host on Buzzsprout.
Okay.
And so I like doing that. And from there, when it comes to editing, I usually edit my shows in iMovie. I used Premiere before, and so I like those. I want to get more into Premiere because and that's for you all who are doing video shows, basically, not just the audio. So so I can have some fun stuff, little flashes and things going in and out, the good transitions for that. Yeah, so I use those. Again, iMovie, so I'm on the Mac. And when I first started, I did have a PC, so there was Windows Movie Maker, and there's others out there if you're doing the video portion. And I have used Audacity, which is free, and that's for your audio editing. So definitely, if you're just doing
Yeah.
audio shows, yeah, that's a great tool for that. And then when it comes to other parts of editing and getting as far as the marketing part of it, once the show is edited, I have the audio file, I have the video file, I put those into Capshow. And the Capshow will come up, it'll automate titles, your transcript, social media posts, different things like that. But you can also get video clips as well. And so I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I want us to step back a bit, right? You've been doing podcasts for about 15 years. In the past 15 years, the
Okay.
question I'm about to ask is it's a hard one, a little bit hard, right? What are some of your favorite memories you have in terms of this podcast journey?
Usually the bloopers are the those are the most fun parts when you're sitting there talking blah, 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 blah. It's like, what are you saying? Those are yeah. Those are
uh,
those are the fun times. But when I think about when I first got started and I was there was no studio, I didn't have a microphone. We didn't even talk about equipment, right? And all I had was a desktop Mac computer. And I lived in the apartment and they had small party rooms with like little dens, if you will, little small rooms in each building. And so I would lease that space for like $25 US. It really was just a deposit. They didn't keep your money. It was a check, a paper check actually. Then so whatever, you got done when you left or whatever, they give you that check back. But so I would set up a studio in there. They had couches and chairs. I would have a table off to the side where I would have coffee and maybe donuts or something. But those were the good old days because people trusted me. And some of the folks that came on, they were pretty prominent. They were used to going to TV studios where they actually had nice recording equipment, the room, the acoustics. So I didn't have any of that. So some of those shows are really terrible with the audio, but it was a good experience because again, people trusted me. They wanted to be on there. And somebody wants to be on your show, that's a compliment. And over the years, I've
yeah.
grown. Yes, they've grown, and it's just a whole new ballgame now. So that's a good memory. But I enjoy meeting people and learning from them.
What's exciting? I guess what's adventurous about the podcasting journey currently, right now? Not in the past, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago for you, but now, like right now, that you'd love to share with me.
Yeah. What's exciting now is it's basically that podcasting is more in the forefront. And so you'll see when I say professional people, I mean people in corporate media and people in corporations are now they're getting into the game where the indie podcast was kind of frowned upon then, and even people you might know like, what is she doing and how do you do that, because they didn't understand what was going on. So it's exciting that this is a real genre. Podcasting is accepted. There's awards. I mean, people want to be on podcasts. People want to podcast themselves, and that's to me what's exciting about what's going on today. And it's a real medium, and people can actually monetize it, use it as a marketing tool, and it's the barrier to entry is very low because you don't need to spend a lot of money. To get you a good microphone, you hook it up to your computer. Sometimes people might use their cell phones. I know I've used my mobile device a lot to record. Right now, I'm using a laptop, and I have my mic is over here. Let's bring my mic in. There we go.
Yeah.
Little
uh,
bling bling going on.
that's the Yeti stereo microphone. Wow.
I
It
just
sounds it
dressed it
sounds
up a little bit.
yeah, it sounds great.
Thank you.
Hope it's affordable.
Oh, yes. I think I spent $140 for it, and you can get a $60 mic. There's also, I'll be honest with you, some of the shows, because I've recorded like other people's, like well, you still want to call them TV shows, but they're for the web, so they weren't podcasts. And they have these $12 lapel microphones that I would plug in. I would
Yeah.
daisy chain them to the phone because I would record a lot of stuff on my phone, or I do have a DSLR camera that I would use at times, and those they sound awesome. so, so wherever you are, you get started. Just start where you are. If you have $20, then you take that $20, you invest it in in your good microphone, use your mobile device, and you're good to go. That's when I said I do have a resource page on my podcast website, podcast Tech Diva Biz Talks.com, and then there's a resource page. You can see all different kinds of things that you can buy. Most of it is on Amazon.
Yeah, and the thing about audio is one of the things I've noticed about it is that it's great if you can record in a very quiet room. It will make your audio so much better than any other tool. When I mean, no matter how good the mic is, if the room is noisy, it's
You're
you're just
right,
stressing the
Wisdom.
mic.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. It can't. There's no substitute for a quiet space. If you go into a closet or something, you know.
That won't be a video podcast though, but because
Oh,
I don't want to see you bent and you like I was like, what's happening? It's like, do you need me to call 911? Are you having a stroke?
right.
Wow, wow. What have we not done for podcasting?
Oh, right. Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-mm.
Have you? I said you mentioned recording in a closet. Is that something you've done in the past?
No, but I've considered it, especially because I used to have a studio, and I come home up in the apartment. So I'm now just over in the area, the dining area that I
Yeah.
don't use it. And so I've got some acoustic panels around me, but I've always thought of that when I go in there and other people have said that because look, especially if you have a walk-in closet and there's clothes on each side, and you just sit in the middle and you have all your acoustics will be awesome in there. There's no disturbance. Just
Yeah.
need to,
Yeah.
get your light in there. Yeah. But
Well,
when you think about
uh,
it, some recording spaces look like small closets.
yeah. 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 I think at the end of the day, creativity goes a long way with podcasting, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean, it does, right? Yeah, the closet thing, I know I've done that. Yeah. It
Okay.
was audio
Okay.
only. Yeah. Yeah. So I've done
Okay.
that. Yeah. And, I've done other crazy things like,
Well,
well,
God, spill the tea. Let us know what crazy stuff you've been doing there, Wisdom.
okay. I think one time I traveled
Oh
to
gosh.
campus, right? I went to campus and it was a night, right? And the place was quiet, but there were students that were reading at night. So I went upstairs and um you know how upstairs the built you have this rest place where you can put your hand and then look down, and then I stood and I was recording. It was audio only, but it was quiet and yeah, that was it. My first couple of episodes, and but eventually
Okay.
everything got better, and here I am,
Yes.
relaxed, and yeah,
Gosh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the privileged questions I would ask you, the reason I say it's privileged questions is because you're at the point where you have the answers, and I have to preface that because yeah, does your podcast make money?
Not exactly not the podcast itself, but the opportunities that are to use that to wrap around your podcast. If you're using it as a marketing tool, say this is part of my business or a podcast for my business. So I have, instead of like outside sponsors, I have commercials basically promoting my business. So that's a
Okay.
way. Yeah, so I like to do that. But otherwise, like some people do have sponsors to monetize their podcasts, or and sometimes they have their affiliates, so they sell products almost like an influencer. So they break in the content and they talk about whatever that product that they're selling, that you're promoting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you mentioned you use your business as to get leads for your podcast to get leads for your business. Um, I'm curious. if you were to give a percentage of how much leads come from your podcast, how much percent
Mhm.
would it be? Would it be 20%, 50%, 10%, 0%, 1%?
Yeah. I would say probably like 5%.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. Yeah,
okay.
and the one thing, yeah, people have to remember is that you have to promote your podcast, and if you have a guest, they need to do the same thing, yourself to promote that. So it's not a one and done, and it's not a, set it and forget it, or if you build it, they will come type of thing. You have to really put it out there.
Quick break. Before we continue, I'd love to invite you to join the My Podcast Story newsletter. Each week, I share highlights from our guest stories, behind the scenes podcasting tips, and resources to help you grow your own show. You can sign up at mypodcaststory.com/join. That is mypodcaststory.com/join. Now, let's get back to the episode.
And I know when I first started podcasting, I used to buy ads, and it's something I think I'm gonna start doing again, to promote the episode, so you get a further reach because you may have 5,000 followers on your Facebook or your LinkedIn social channel, but all 5,000 of those people aren't seeing your podcast. It's just
Yeah.
based on how the algorithms and how the platforms are set up and how they serve content. So you really have to. It's a numbers game. You really have to be out there hard and pushing and having others helping you do the same. And buying ads is one way to help support that.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
But when was the last time you did that?
Oh gosh, that was probably with the Make Something Happen .TV show. So that was a while ago. So yeah, so that's why I'm looking at it now. This is always a good time of year to reflect on what you've done and what we need to do different or better in the coming year. So that's one thing that I have on my list is to really start to buy ads again for my shows for the podcast.
Okay, you did run ads, but now you're at a pace where you already you have listeners, and those listeners they're large enough to lead to word of mouth, and then talk about your podcast, and
Mhm.
then give you more listeners. So it's not like you're like that's small place where you need to like break even to get certain number of listeners so that
Mm.
it can get word of mouth out there.
Yes, yes.
When I asked the question if the podcast make money, you said you don't do sponsorships. But you use the you talk about your business on your podcast, and so you do get some leads. And you told me 5%, but I'm curious.
Mhm.
How do you track um the leads the podcast bring?
You said the ratings?
The leads,
Oh,
the
no, the
leads.
leads. I'm sorry, yeah, the
Yeah,
leads. See yeah, so tracking the leads. It's really when since it's a real client, usually you'll see where the traffic. So if it's the link, so your backlinks, so how did they get to your website? And so you'll be able to see that in your web traffic. So whether you're using Google Analytics or some other type of tracking tool, that's how you know where the lead came from. So I know that's
yeah,
like a product lead. Obviously, if it's a product where you have to talk to the person, like we're talking, of course, then you can ask, okay, well, how did you hear about my business? Of course, that's you know another way to find out. But basically, people are coming through to web traffic. So even if it's in the newsletter and I got a lead from my newsletter because I do podcast in there too. You look, there's traffic facts on there. So it's like, where did the person click on and how do they, so you can see all of those. It's like, they call it a heat map. You can see where people have clicked on in their,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Hmm.
I like that. Yeah. You shared how you make your podcast episode. We talked about monetization, and you do have a business with a podcast that directly connects to what you do in the business. What if you had a podcast that was a completely off tangent stuff? Like, okay, let's say what you do.
You said that it's totally off. That's not related to
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
do.
like let's say gardening, a
Oh,
podcast on gardening.
you're not too far off on that. Let me tell you why.
What's
you
happening?
you are not too far off.
Ooh. Ah! What are the odds?
Oh my
It was random. It was completely random. I
yes,
guess
but
not.
yeah, it's crazy. I
Well,
do
but
grow
just for context, for those that are just listening on audio only, she's showing me a plant, and it appears that she does garden, and I did not know that prior to this. That looks like a familiar plant? Is that a that's not why is that's
They
not
could, yeah, we call it a mother-in-law's tongue. That's not the formal name for it. Let me see. It does have snake plant. It does have a
oh
little chicken in here. Yeah,
okay, yeah, snake plants, okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But this is but my favorite plants, and they're too far away for me to bring them in the camera. But I grow aloes, and I would ship those
Yeah.
plants. Like my family, they're in different states or stuff, and I would send them a plant. I would take them to work and give them away. Those are my aloes and my African violets. So I always propagate those just from a leaf. And I have shipped those things everywhere. When I used to work there, they still have those plants. I call her my queen, and the plant is actually I planted that. That plant is 11 years old. I still have it. The original plant, and I started it from a leaf wisdom,
Wow.
and it has beautiful purple flowers. And one of the plants that spawned from it I had given to my coworker, and the flowers on that one turned white, and so it
Wow.
was so delicate with just a little bit of purple around the edges. And when we both retired last year, she gave me that plant. She still has others because I gave her so many of them. The leaves propagated, and she got so many plants off of it. But it
Yeah.
was
Wow.
yeah,
Uh
yeah. Then I
I
have
have to
stuff outside. Yeah.
I have to ask, are you considering starting a gardening podcast?
I need to, cause that would be something fun. I know I was thinking about doing one for music, but I was just gonna put it on, just do a YouTube channel. I have, some songs out there I've recorded already, some gospel songs, and I was gonna record some of my favorite, like top
Yeah.
40 or, stuff like that. But yeah, cause I think we do need to do something fun. And
Yeah.
to me, that's when when the spark happens, when because you're not really looking for it, you're just having fun, but
Yeah.
somebody else likes what you do.
Yeah. Yeah,
And before
that's it. Yeah. You're
yeah, I
doing
like
what you
that
love.
question. Yeah, I like that question.
Yeah, well, and then more general question would be, are you considering starting a podcast, and how strong is the concentration? Is it like, oh, I'm going to start one next 2 months? What I'm saying is, if you've been having ideas for a new show to start.
Oh, wow. I don't know. I haven't thought about it too much. I do keep a running log, as believe it or not, of different show topics. And I
Yeah,
haven't looked at it in a while. But oh my goodness. But if I did start something, it would most likely still be business related. So it may still be something around marketing, but I might take it at one aspect and just really niche down on that one aspect. Like right now, there's a lot of facets to branding and
yeah,
different mediums and things that you can do to brand a business. So if it's something like that, I might would do that. Would be a solo show, and then I would bring in experts maybe every now and then. So that might be something.
okay. So
Yeah.
many thoughts, you know. Well, we never get to do them. I mean, we can do anything, but not everything.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
I'm curious, it's December where I'm interviewing you, 5th of December. What are the plans you have for the podcast? What are the projects, things you have in the pipeline? They're like, I have some ideas. These are things I'm going to work on next year, and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I really wanna, just work on my interviewing skills, continually to improve that, and I think, that's pretty much it. I really want to get, like, my virtual studio, tighter, I would think, and I really dive into that even more because I do record with a green screen, but sometimes the green screen, doesn't work perfectly. So I'm like, "Oh, I need to
Oh
really
yeah,
investigate."
that's that's true. I think I have a recommendation for that. The reason
Okay,
I say
okay.
that is that I had a guest who showed up on the podcast, and I did not know that he was using green screen. And I had to ask that, like, I need to know what's the secret. What are you using? And he told me, the name of the tool is called VCAM, and that's what they do. Just backgrounds and green screen. They don't. It's not like all these tools that have 50 other features. They have
Yeah.
VCAM, and yeah. So it was really good. I said I was going to try it, but I never really got around to it. But since you mentioned
Yeah.
that, yeah.
I'm,
I don't know
you
if
know,
it's free, I don't know if it's paid. I've never really done my research, but that was the recommendation he gave to me. And it was
yeah.
great. I saw him use it.
Okay, yeah, it does. You can get a free version, and because I was, as long as I've been in business, I've seen a lot of the tools, and the eCam is a solid program. It's been around for a long time
No,
because.
not eCam,
Oh, what did you say?
VCam,
Oh, V.
VCam. Uh,
Oh,
like
okay.
Virginia, yeah, VCam.
Uh, okay, okay. I'm definitely going to look
Yeah,
into that then.
yeah,
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 because you can see now. Sometimes I'm going in and out. I'm like phasing in and out. Right, Star Trek.
yeah. I see it. Yeah. And I'm like, what's happening? She's changing form.
Oh my
uh,
gosh. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Mm-mm.
there are always room for improvements, but the goal is to like keep on doing such that we're building and building, and eventually you're like, wow, I
Yeah, yeah,
remember, yeah, that's the idea. So
yeah.
you talked about making the background better. What's the other thing you talked about? Just one word. What about you said you use Riverside and Zoom? Isn't it like two software? Have you thought about simplifying and using just one instead of two software that do the same thing, kind of?
Well, yeah, because I think because I've been using Zoom for so long, I got kind of spoiled.
I saw
Oh
that
my,
coming.
you saw that
Yeah.
coming. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, all right. All right. Okay, was I'm gonna like get into my Riverside a little bit more.
Yeah, you're the tech diva. Like that's true.
Okay.
Now I'm going to use your name. And they're like, oh,
Right.
you're the tech diva.
Okay, she uses Zoom. I know because
Yeah.
it is easy and I do get my backgrounds are better. I do have a Riverside account and I have used it, so I really do, like you said, really need to explore better because we always can improve on what we're doing and be lifelong learners. And if we feel like we've made it, something's wrong.
Yeah. I've made
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. So,
Yeah.
are there other things? Because the reason I'm asking this question is, I'd love to have you back on the podcast probably 6 months from now and say,
Oh,
yeah, Audrey, the last time we spoke, you talked about doing this, you talked about doing that. How's it going? What was it like? And you're like, oh yeah, we did this. And what was the struggle? Was it smooth? And tell me about it. And I would love to like be looking forward to that conversation. So, um, if you don't mind.
oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to come back and now you're gonna make me do some work.
And that's the whole idea, right?
Right, right, right. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
whole
but
idea.
that would be awesome because then that shows progress, but it also lets people know it's like we all have room for improvement, like I just said. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and we have to
Um,
continually to grow.
yeah. Does a podcast help with speaking engagements?
Actually, it does because people get to see you, on these screens or listen if you're just doing the audio podcast, and if you're talking about something that they're interested in, like their event or something that they're having that they're able to plug into. So yeah, so they would really it does help with speaking engagements and even being this is a speaking engagement. Me coming on your podcast is a speaking engagement as well.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
And
So
the reason
thank
why
you.
I invited you was because you're a podcaster. So yeah, yeah, that's why. Wow. Yeah, I noticed that one of the things you do is you guest on podcasts, obviously, because you're a guest on my podcast. But is that like a whole strategy thing for the podcast, or is it just for your business?
Oh, I would say probably both, but it's more for the business than it is for my podcast. Yeah, so it's just it's a marketing strategy, another way of getting in front of more people, telling my story, um, sharing how, I solve people's problems or business problems.
And I
Mhm.
guess when you say that with this new information, I think we need to move that number of leads from 5% to something higher. because the leads you get from guesting on other people's podcasts. I don't think, did you include that in the 5%?
Actually I did, and that was just in my podcast. Because
Okay.
because I've been guesting maybe about 3 months, 3 or 4 months. Yeah, I've guessed it in the past, but not that often, so I don't really have any facts or figures
Yeah, data.
from
Yeah.
that because it's too far in between. But so I'm gonna look next year and look backwards and and see how it's going. But it takes a minute. Sometimes it takes like 90 impressions when they talk about advertising for people to really connect with you and what you're doing, if they even need what you're offering.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's something. It's not a one and done. So you have to keep doing it. So now that I'm out here, I got my feet in the water. I have to keep treading.
This, I guess, that's measuring. How would one actually measure that?
So that would be the same thing, that tracking like we talked about before. As far as what we're doing. So again, these are your automated programs putting in, because you can do like your Google tracking, the analytics and other programs, so you can see how many. So if we know like how many listens that we may have had to the podcast, and there's other. Oh my gosh, what is it? I can't think of the top of my head right now. But like Alexa ratings, there's different ratings that you can look into for podcasting, as well as your advertising. So that's a whole big market. That's really the backside of marketing that to plug into. You know,
Yeah. Oh,
the science of marketing, I would say.
yeah. It's funny. I'm chatting with you about podcast, and I'm asking you your podcast story, but I never really got to ask you about branding, which is what you do as it relates to your podcast. So how did that come into play for your podcast?
Actually, it made podcasting easier for me, because I was able to set
Awesome.
all of that stuff up, as far as and just because I'm in branding, I don't want people to think that, oh, you can't do it, because the tools that they have today. When I first started, we didn't have Canva and all these different types of
Yeah.
templates. Basically, I was designing everything from scratch, and so now that makes it easier. And the message part of your of branding your podcast as well, coming up with titles, all of that. I used to think that, off the top of my head. I would have to create all of that content, the descriptions, all of it. And there were for a while though, there have been tools to do transcripts, but of course that those have evolved over the years, because they weren't always as great as they are now. But and even now there's room for improvement, because it's listening to us talk, and sometimes our
Yeah.
words can run together, or if we talk a little slower, saying words with pauses, it it breaks up words or stuff. So you still have to look at it, but yeah, just using those different tools, that's come a long way.
Yeah. Well, I'll be looking forward to uh the next conversation, because I'd love to to hear. You talked about interviewing your. You talked about improving your interviewing skills. I was about saying interviewing your interviewing skills. No. I did say it. You talked about
Yeah.
improving your interviewing skills. I'd love to just to know how that turned out. Some of the things you did next interview. So I do have something to look forward to, and my listeners, they do also have something to look forward to. I don't know, maybe 6 months. That'll be enough time for you to like really really get going. I mean, not necessarily achieve, but make a lot of progress in 6 months.
Yes, definitely. And maybe some merch. Maybe we'll have some merch going on.
Yeah, what's that? Is it merch? You said MERCH?
No, yes, yep, yes, merchandise.
Oh yeah,
So
merchandise. Because I wasn't sure
uh
if that was what you're saying, so I was like, I wanted to make sure that was what you're saying.
yes, yep, that's what I
Yeah,
said. Yeah.
that'll be fun. Tech Diva. What would be an example of a phrase you put on the shirt?
Oh, I've been thinking about that, because I want, guys to wear my stuff too. So I'm like, do I have the Tech Diva? But I think that would have to be the smaller word, but it may be Tech Diva Nation. So then a guy might wear that, because they could be, yeah, I'm part of her. I follow her, or whatever.
Yeah,
So, but I would need a good strong subtitle that would actually be like the main title something along the lines of people like engaging with technology and embracing it, and yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love to see how they turn out. When you work on that, let me know. Shoot me an email and I'll say, yeah, let's see. Like that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
so yeah.
yeah.
And also this
Oh,
whole month and next month, I'm going to be busy thinking of stuff. Thanks, Wisdom.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I think improvement has to be intentional, right? I mean, there's a
Yes.
level, usually if you do stuff long enough, at a certain point in time, it stops, right? You stop improving, except your intention about it, right? It just becomes permanent. It becomes easy for you to do. When you started the first time, it's hard. And so you're like, how do I make it easier? Once it's easy, that's it, it stops, except your intention about, okay, how do I improve? How do I make it better? And if you're not
Yeah.
asking those questions, you're just like, I've been doing it for a while, but, you know, uh,
Yep, yep.
well,
Mm-mm.
what advice would you give to me and to listeners that are just coming up? I mean, you've been around for a while.
Yeah, yeah, you've been
Uh,
around, so I can learn some stuff from you.
no,
Um,
antics, you flattering. Uh, it's all right.
Yeah,
Mm,
for people who are just starting, I always like to say, "Start where you are." I mean, that's like my famous last words, "Start where you are."
mm,
You may not come out and, this is the Blue Yeti mic, there's other Samson and, Shure and the Rhodes, those are, oh my god, awesome microphones. But like I said, that $12 microphone, start where you are, or if you don't have the money to even do that, if you have your smartphone, like we talked about, go in the closet or just find a quiet space for you and your guests, and you start chopping it up. That was from my last podcast name,
yeah.
the
Chopping it
business.
up.
Yeah, yeah, it
Is that
was
the name
called
of your podcast?
the other one was called the business chop. It was the business chop.
The
And
chopping it up.
yeah,
Wow.
and I always say we're gonna be chopping it up today with wisdom, and
Oh,
so that was
that's fantastic. So what do you say
yeah.
for Tech Diva? What's like the thing you say for Tech Diva?
Let's talk tech.
Let's talk tech. Okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's nice. But that's not as nice as chopping it up.
I know. Yeah, and it
Ah,
does have a nice. I know that chopping thing does have a nice ring to it.
yeah,
I think I'm gonna have to
yeah.
take back my old show name.
Well, I really love what you did with branding. I feel like being in the digital space, working as a marketer, if eventually starting something, it finds its way into the work you eventually do because it makes it just different. There's this touch from every other person's kind of show. Someone who's said
Yeah.
branding.
Oh,
As someone with a background in branding, starting a podcast just gives a particular touch to it compared to men like us that start podcast
yep,
without
yep. That's
branding
true.
experience. Yeah, I did learn that for you. I'll find a slogan. I'll come up with something. I was like, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
yeah.
I'll give you the
Yeah.
credit for it.
Thank you for that. For stats where you are. Where can listeners listen to your podcast and also connect with you?
Yeah, so the podcast is on all the major networks. So you can search for Tech Diva Biz Talks, or if you want to go directly to my website, and there's tools on there, there's other things, and it's called techdivabiztalks.com.
Okay, I'll put the links in the description so that listeners can just click and go check it out. Thank you so much, Audrey.
Oh, thank you, Wisdom. I appreciate it. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I hope you enjoyed listening to this journey as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. And don't forget to join the newsletter at mypodcaststory.com/join for more stories and podcasting insights. Until next time, keep telling your story because someone out there needs to hear it.